On this day, in 2018, on the 17th of October, an 18-year-old student called Vladislav Roslyakov shot and killed 20 people and wounded 7 others before committing suicide. This became known as the Kerch Polytechnic College Massacre. It took place in what we now know as Crimea, which is disputed between Ukraine and Russia at the moment, but ruled by Russia. Now this kid, as you can see in the picture, was quite a good-looking fella. 18 years old, he had his whole life ahead of him. He had an ex-girlfriend, so he obviously wasn't completely alone. But it seems that he had problems in his life. He was a bit of a loner, a bit odd. Some of the students at this university used to mock him, laugh at him. When he was 10, his dad got a brain injury and became aggressive towards him. Now, whether this was physically abusive or just shouting, I don't know. It doesn't say. His mum and dad then broke up. So from a young age, his parents were separated. His mum was also quite a religious Jehovah's Witness, so she did try to keep him separated from the other kids. But let's be honest, there are many Jehovah's Witnesses in the world that don't go around killing 20 people at their school. There are many people with separated parents, or even abusive parents, who don't go on to shoot 20 people. It might have something to do with the fact that he was a grumpy teenager. Now, if you think back at how you were when you were a teenager, was there ever a moment when you felt hatred towards some of your classmates, to your teachers, to the school? When you're young, sometimes you can have quite dark thoughts. Perhaps this was one situation where he went ahead and did it. Now, in Russia, you can legally own guns, which he did. You can legally buy bullets, which he did. He used to go to the shooting range and practice. So everything he did was legal, acceptable. And then he went in to the Polytechnic, planted some bombs, a nail bomb and a pipe bomb, which then exploded. But all of the people who died because he shot them. 5 teachers and 15 students. The reason I picked this for today is because I've never heard of it. I'd never seen this on my feed on Twitter, never seen any article about this in a paper or on the news. Now, true, I do avoid TV news, but inevitably, when something happens, it does seem to pop up on your Twitter feed or on YouTube. So the fact that I have never seen this or heard of this is, to me, odd, considering any time something like this happens in America, it's non-stop for weeks, sometimes months or years. Sometimes the people involved become famous and become political activists. And it starts a political fight between both sides every time. When you see something like this happen in America, you know that they don't really care about the people who are killed. They act like hyenas with a carcass on the savannah. They try to rip as much stuff as they can out of this and use it as a weapon against their political enemies. Because of that, they make sure it's on the news for weeks, or months, or years. In Russia, things like this happen more often than you'd think. twice this year, 2021. There have at least twice, I've just done a very brief look, there have been other university or school massacres. One was in Perm, that was on the 20th of September, and another was back in May, the 11th of May of this year, in Kazan. In Kazan, 9 people were killed and 23 injured by a 19-year-old former student. In Perm, on the, I think it was the 20th of September, 6 people were killed, and he was also a current student at the time. I remember that because there were video of people jumping out the window of one of the classrooms. And yet, these things don't become political footballs in Russia. There are also school massacres in China as well, mostly knife attacks on little kids by grown-ups. Very disturbing. But these things are obviously kept brushed under the carpet, kept secret. They don't want people to know about what goes on, but inevitably some stuff sometimes comes out. But it's only in America that we see all of the politicking and it becoming a political football. And it is quite sickening seeing it. It's the same arguments again and again, and nothing ever gets done because you can't change their constitution very easily. So each side knows it's nonsense. All they do is make the schools look more and more like prisons. So, school shootings. It's not just something that happens in the United States. It actually occurs quite often in Russia too. And the reason I find this interesting is because we don't really hear about it. Okay, so if you like this channel, please subscribe, comment, and like. Come back tomorrow for more.